Welcome to A Place for Film, the IU Cinema podcast. On this week's episode, we're talking about Campus Movie Fest. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Andy Hunsucker.
And I'm Jason Thompson.
And for the first time in about, probably, it feels like forever, Jason, we actually have a person across the table from us.
Right.
Sarah Doyle is here, our production assistant, to sit down and help us out with this review of Campus Movie Fest.
Yeah.
It feels weird. Like, are we doing it right,
Yeah.
Jason? I don't know.
I think we are. Well, I didn't look at the right camera initially, so...
What do I do with my hands? This is all weird. We'll go ahead and jump into this. We're talking about Campus Movie Fest this week, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Campus Movie Fest is a nationwide student film festival, and the idea is every university that's participating, every student who wants to participate can jump in.
Yeah.
They get a camera and a laptop if they need it. If not, who cares? But they have 1 week to shoot, produce, edit, and turn in a film.
That's 5 minutes or less.
5 minutes or less. Yeah. And it's kind of nuts. But some really great films came out of this.
Yeah, IU always shows up.
Yeah.
They always show up to the challenge, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about Campus Movie Fest. And we briefly discussed this earlier. Student Film Festival. 1 week to shoot, edit, create your movie. They'll give you the laptop and the camera. Universities all over the country, all over the world, I think. I know there's like London schools doing this as well, participate in this. And
started in Atlanta.
Emory College. And that's where it's based now. But the really cool thing is the people who won, and that's the other nice thing, they have a big event.
Yeah.
You know, students show up. They dress up, people wear evening gowns and suits, and I didn't see any tuxes, but
it was a really excited mood in there.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, and that's the thing. They narrow it down to like 16 finalists, and then they don't tell the students before the event who's going to screen. So you'd have to show up and watch to see if your movie made it. And when people see their movie show up on that screen, they freak out.
Yeah.
And all their friends and family that they brought freak out.
Yeah. So it's just a really great event. We went last year. It kind of snuck up on us last year, Jason, but we were able to see all these easily this year. So let's just talk about, I don't know if we want to talk about every single one of these.
Let's talk about the winners.
Let's talk about the winners. Okay. So where do we want to start?
With comedy.
Comedy. Best comedy. My favorite film of the whole thing. Sheet Wow. Sheet Wow, it's a comedy. It's basically one long poop joke, but it's an excellently executed poop joke. It's the best executed poop joke I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it's done as an infomercial, an extended infomercial, sort of making fun of the OxyClean and ShamWow sort of craziness that you get.
High energy pitchmen sort of thing.
Right. And essentially the joke is, I guess it's pretty obvious from the start, is that you can use this towel, this sheet, to clean up various kinds of accidents or wipe certain areas of your body and essentially just be able to quickly clean that so you can reuse it again.
Yes, you can reuse it again and again repeatedly.
But it doesn't actually come off that way.
Yeah.
And you kind of get that idea as the infomercial goes on and on.
This was just so well put together, so well executed. The guy they got as the main actor, who also won Best Actor in this film, he's just a genius. I've seen him acting all over campus. He's been doing this for a while. He does student productions, and he's just a good actor. His name's Taylor Crozier. I'm not sure. Is it Crozier? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
But he's kind of a genius.
Yeah.
And he wrote it too, I think, along with some of the other people on the production. But he just nails that kind of high energy pitch man who's just a little unhinged. And when he won the Best Actor thing, he even ran up on stage and did that live. He dressed as that with the beard. It's like, that's a commitment, dude. And I have great respect for everything you're doing.
They were throwing out sheet wows from the balcony.
They were in the balcony,
when he ran up,
Yeah, that was impressive.
It was it was almost obvious that was such a crowd pleaser that it would be amazing if it had won.
Well, and that's the other thing. Basically this film, the other thing about this is if you didn't win any of these things, the people who win get to go to L.A. and screen, which is amazing. We have our friend Chelsea, a film she did, went out there, and she did that whole thing. So that's a big deal. But if you don't win, if you can get the most hits on YouTube over a certain period of time, then you also get to go. This one is like a shoo-in for that. So it didn't even matter if it didn't win. Even if everyone hated it, it was like, this is going to be the next big thing.
This is the one movie where you'll probably watch it again, and then send it to all your friends, and then watch it again with them in the room.
Yes, and record a video of yourself reacting to it, and then post that on YouTube. And then someone will post another. It will live forever. Yeah. It will live forever. It's kind of amazing, frankly.
Well, we could stick with the comedies here.
Sure.
Let's talk about Sauce Kings. I thought that one was really well done too.
I loved Sauce Kings. I loved Sauce Kings. Sauce Kings is about bros do cooking, which sounds dumb, but it just really works. Yeah. Basically, these two guys who are they're bros. They're like, hey, what's up, man? And they just have this rhythm to their speech like that, and it's not clear in the film until it gets to that point that they're cooking, that they're culinary students. Right. But there's a big sauce competition coming up, and so they have to make the best sauce. And it almost takes like an Amadeus vibe, like that film Amadeus, where it's like Amadeus versus Salieri, and it's like, no, he's too good. I can't beat him.
Or almost like a Rocky kind of vibe to it, where it's like this montage of them sort of preparing their sauces for the big day. Yeah. I thought the pacing was really well done in this. It didn't sort of go overboard with that montage. It was sort of like, okay, like here's a bunch of funny things, and then bam, back to reality. People are tasting the sauces. Things go wrong. Yeah. And then just the things that go wrong are just so brilliant.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, I would have thought this is going way over the top, but it just works. Yeah. They really pulled it off. That one's really good. And I don't know the character names, but whichever of the guys had the beard, he just had this delivery that I almost want to in reality, I think he probably was just trying to remember his lines, but he had these pauses in these really awkward places, and
it made it better, though. I know, it was perfect.
That's why I thought that guy was so good. It's like, I hope he was doing that on purpose, because it worked so well. But in reality, I think he was probably just like, what's my next line? What's the next part of that? Right, okay, now I'll say it. But it made it so much better that he was just like fumbling over his lines for some reason. I don't know why. It shouldn't have worked. But it worked great.
Well, he had like a blank look, not like I'm thinking about what line it is. It just worked really well for that part.
Hey guys, let's make us. It's just like he just kept pausing in the most weirdest places, but it worked so well. Yeah. I loved that. Another comedy I really liked, Jason, was what was it called? Was it called Contemporary Transmission?
Yeah, the little shorts.
Yeah, it was like a family watching television. They're just flipping channels or whatever, and it's like the commercials come up and the ads for shows come up and the shows come up, and it was that one was really funny. I thought it had some great moments.
It's like the most skewed television that you should never allow children or even adults to watch, because it's just so backwards. But it's making fun of just all sorts of different things. They kept. What was the Arby's thing?
Narby's.
Yeah, that was probably the best one out of all of them.
That one came up a couple of times.
They had a couple of different commercials for Narby's, and they executed that idea. I'm sure it cost them a little bit of money to make that sandwich that they sort of just drown in all this sauce.
Yeah, just that whole fast food thing.
It was probably the catering for the day. They just all ate off of that big sandwich. But
exactly.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Yeah.
That one reminded me a lot of sort of the local commercials for like Mother Bears.
Yes.
Like sort of just like these real sort of low budget, just sort of they don't care, shoestring. Like the editing isn't perfect, but you still want
like a paper mustache.
Right. Like you still really want the product. And I think that's maybe what they were going for, which I appreciated because it sort of brought me back to like the local ads you see for these different things. Another movie that was sort of along the lines of the Sauce Kings was Horders, but spelled like, with a W. I thought the acting was really well done, and I thought the concept was really really funny. Basically, these guys just go into this house where these girls are living and then just sort of like pickpocket random
they
things.
pretend that they want to rent the place,
Right.
and they're like, "Hey, we saw the for rent sign? Can we look around?" And then they just like have big backpacks and they start putting. But they're talking
they're
like
having this like random conversation about just nothing.
It's like, okay, so there's the anteater. Why do you call it that? Well, because it eats ants. Well, what if you had an animal that just ate anteaters? What would you call that? It's like
As they walk to this fridge and just open it like it's there.
And then they keep calling back to the person in the living room like, hey, does this fridge come with the place?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So the person doesn't like come into the room. They just think they're still like perusing and looking at the apartment, but they're stealing almost like not even like nice things. They're just stealing like random things, like a Post-it note. They like got in a fight over a Post-it note. That's probably the funniest part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
I thought that was funny. I felt there was something a little off about it for me. I'm not sure what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it, but
well, they almost reminded me. Like I thought for a second it was going sort of in a Mormon direction, like they were going to just like act like Mormons and sort of because they had like backpacks and just sort of
suits.
like
vests and
So I thought that was the direction it was going, and then it didn't. And I thought, okay, I can get behind this because there's been a lot of that sort of spoofage of that. The other thing when we talked about this was Winners. I really liked the concept of that one.
Mm-hmm. Winners is about a guy, he's drunk, and he goes in his drunkenness and buys a lottery ticket and comes home and just throws it on the table because he's drunk and he has no idea what he did. And then he wakes up the next morning and...
like he has a winning ticket.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know.
He doesn't have any idea.
He still doesn't realize,
And then the whole sort of
and then
movie...
it's just a piece of paper to him. It's not anything.
Right.
And I loved seeing that one with an audience.
Yeah.
Because you could hear the audience sort of like, he's actually, it's like he's about to roll a joint with the thing.
Right.
And it's like the whole audience like, no, don't do that, no. And then, his friend.
Yeah, the character's essentially just clueless, but the audience is totally in on the joke. And that really works.
Yeah.
I think the tone was perfect for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the actor, there was a couple actors in that had been in other projects too, but the main actor has been in a lot of things that I've seen, and he's just continuing to be a really interesting guy to watch on film.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like the idea of that, although I think it could have maybe been extended into something a little bit longer.
Yeah, and because it just kind of ended. It was just kind of like, well, we ran out of time, so I guess we're done. Mm-hmm. But it definitely could have been a whole thing.
Yeah, they could have just like kept going like after it, and once they figured out what had happened, there was like these like jokes too. There's like like a newspaper that said like winning tickets sold in Bloomington, and then like the guy sees the newspaper and you think he's going to react to like, oh my gosh, like we have the winning ticket, but then he's like breadsticks for $5. And it's just like, oh my gosh. I just that kind of stuff, just the real subtle things I really liked.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I kind of had to imagine though, like if it was a feature-length film, which I kind of did want it to go farther. But what kind of ending could you have? He either gets the ticket or he doesn't. It was almost better that they ended it with nothing.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
I saw it either, that extended maybe another 5 minutes or a part of a bigger movie that sort of, that is just like a random thing that happens maybe like in the middle or something. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not 100%, but, it definitely just sort of starts and then it ends. Like it doesn't sort of like ramp up. It's just like you're in this guy's drunken state, and at the end you're in the random confusion as this girl's walking out the door.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked it. I kind of liked that it was just sort of full throttle all the way through.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because some of the other films sort of took their time to sort of get to that point, whereas you're just sort of like
you
in the
start
world.
out kind of dizzy with him in his drunken state, so you're already there.
Technically, that one was really good because they really found a good way. I don't know how they got that because they've got like professional rigs where you can sort of attach a camera to the front of a person. Like they used it in lots of movies, but to sort of
every
signify.
Will Ferrell movie.
Will Ferrell, but I'm thinking of the Aronofsky film with Jared Leto.
Requiem for a Dream.
They used it in that one.
Yeah. It's like essentially just a reverse Steadicam.
Exactly.
Like they attach a Steadicam to somebody, turn the camera around, and that's what
I'm guessing he was just holding it in front of him, but I don't know. Maybe they had something more sophisticated than that.
It looked like it was one of the sort of mounted ones because I thought I saw his hands because he was grabbing stuff off shelves.
But I just can't imagine they could have afforded a professional quality rig.
You'd be surprised at some of the equipment these students have, to get their career started.
Well, from what I understand, at most campus movie fests, at most campuses, students are like taking the free camera every time.
Right.
At IU, almost everyone has their own camera because it's serious at IU. Yeah. It's competitive.
Yeah. Well, we talk to a lot of students before films at the cinema, like a lot of people that work there. They're like, "Oh yeah, I bought this SLR, and I'm doing this with it." And it's just like, well, that's what you want to do for a living. It's a worthy investment because they're using it to win these contests. Yeah. So it only makes sense. Yeah. So those I thought were the pretty significant. I have. Well, there's one more. I think.
One more comedy that I really loved, Two Peas. Yeah. I loved Two Peas. Yeah. That was probably my second favorite after Sheet Wow. It's these two girls talking about the relationship that one girl has with her boyfriend, and the one roommate thinks they're too close. Right. And she keeps bringing up examples. And at first the examples are like, nah, whatever. And then it starts to get weirder and weirder and weirder. And then it just takes a wholly different turn at the end, which was a brilliant choice, I thought, just to take it in a weird place.
Yeah.
I thought the acting was really good.
The acting was really good in that one, which I will say there weren't a lot of female roles, period, in these. I mean, that's something that bothers me a little bit, but I guess, it bugs me that the college students aren't finding, the roles for women. And a lot of these, I feel like Two Peas was directed by a woman, which is why it worked a little bit better. But a couple of these, one of these in particular, really bothered me the way women were treated in this particular film. But anyways.
I think for comedies though, that kind of
that pretty much covers it.
I mean, there was Black Throttle.
That's the one that really bothered me,
which was sort of not a follow up, but along the same lines of
Afro Thunder last year,
which won last year.
I loved Afro Thunder. Right. I thought that was great. Yeah. This one, it took things way too far. I felt like. Way too far because Afro Thunder was about this it's like a blaxploitation takeoff, and it's Afro Thunder was like this female character who's taking back the streets and beating up men and all that stuff,
but it had like an after school special vibe to it.
But it had this sense of fun, right? This one was just dark. It was like, hey, get into my rape van and let's go rape you, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Right. It's like, I'm just going to chain you up in a bathroom and wait for Black Throttle to come and rescue you. It's like, what is going on? Yeah. And the ending was just really unsatisfying, too. It was like, it just took things way too far without giving us any kind of satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, there wasn't as much humor.
No, not a lot of humor. There was a couple of lines that were funny, but otherwise it was just dark.
That was another one that you could really tell from the audience that it was kind of going a little like you heard there a couple of times.
Yeah. There was some censoring required on the big screen in this particular film, so they normally don't do that. But yeah, that one bugged me a little bit. Although I will say that it had really good fight choreography. Yeah. There was another film that tried to do a big fight scene, and this fight choreography was just kind of not great. It was clear the actors sort of didn't trust each other enough to really go for it. Black Throttle had really good fight choreography where it was clear somebody who knew what they were doing had figured this out and was making all that work. But just the portrayal of women really it made me recoil quite a bit to be like, I'm not sure I want to be watching this,
Well, I think maybe a little bit of that too is just like a college setting.
It's
like
a college
you just know
thing.
that there's college people behind it, which you're adults. That's whatever, but it was just kind of like college competition. Yeah, maybe took it a little too far.
Yeah, and I know the sort of feel they're going for. They're going for a blaxploitation film, and just any exploitation film really can take it that far. But
it wasn't necessary.
You had 5 minutes. You didn't have to put that in there.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, so let's talk about this other film, Innocence, that had the other fight scene. This one was good. It had a lot of good aspects to it, a lot of good cinematography, a lot of good aspects, but it sort of centered around this big fight scene where one guy took on like 8 different guys, and the choreography was just not – they didn't quite get it. But
I don't know if it wasn't the choreography. I thought maybe it was the editing.
really
of that particular fight scene, because what really threw me off was the sound mix during that, especially because I wrote on my notes, I said it needs a better sound mix.
Yeah.
Because I think if you clean up the sound mix and you sort of tighten up the editing, that whole sequence would just play out better. And then I mean, that's why most fight scenes play out better, because you're either just like rapid firing cutting to where people are like they're trying to catch up mentally, or you just have certain angles that work a lot better. And that's sort of the idea that I had with this, is that you could tell these guys really worked on it, and visually it was really cool. It was different than anything else because these guys were wearing these like bright neon costumes.
They had
they had these
contacts
eyes,
in.
And then it was just sort of, different than everything else. It was just sort of otherworldly.
Yeah.
But I just thought, to the point where it's like, okay, what would improve this? Like, it wasn't like, okay, this is so bad you just can't fix it. I legitimately thought, okay, like if they had maybe a couple more days, they could really tighten this up, because I mean they crammed a lot. In this movie. You have to get the costumes, you have to make sure they fit everybody, you have to get the fight stuff going on, and of course you can prepare for that a little bit ahead of time because these guys knew that it was coming.
Yeah.
But I just kind of thought that it was, hampered by a couple things that could have been tweaked.
Yeah. Well, and this team also did another film. This team did 3 films.
Which, again, might have played a part in that.
2 of them played.
Right.
So, one of them, the other one won Best Drama.
Yeah.
So, so this, but you know what I love? I love that they were ambitious.
Right.
I love that they went for it. And they were like, you know what? We can do a full fight scene in 5 days or whatever.
We can not sleep for a week to get all this done.
I love the ambition. It just needs to be polished a little bit. So let's talk about the one that won Best Drama and Best Actress, in fact, Pilgrimage, which it almost plays out like a music video, sort of, where this girl is kind of going through these sort of strange, unreal areas. Like she gets out of a bathtub and she walks through a door and all of a sudden she's in a different outfit and she's got this, crazy makeup on. And it almost plays like almost like an anime, really, where it's sort of like she's seeing these signs that sort of give her advice about things. I loved this one. And I did love this one almost not exclusively, but very strongly, because it was one of the few films that didn't use a female character as a prop. Like, it gave a female character something to do, and she won Best Actress because most of these films did not give their female actresses anything to do. But Pilgrimage, I thought, was really, really good.
Yeah, I liked it. I had a few issues sort of with the title cards that they were using. I thought it really took me out of each scene. I thought, and I just do this with everything I see. I just think, oh, how would I improve this? So I liked it. Just let me go ahead and say that first off. It was one of the ones that I would have ranked pretty high on my list. I just thought it would maybe have worked better if maybe it was like a voiceover or like somebody like whispering the advice or something, like something she hears in her head, or some other voice sort of from another void of sorts, like that is connecting her between these different environments. They just really took me out of the whole thing. And I thought it would have been really ambitious if they had just sort of maybe stopped a little bit earlier to where it was just like, you don't know how it ends.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been really interesting.
It's a 5-minute film, so we'll spoil it. Basically, she comes back full circle, and she's sort of living this in her head as she's about to kill herself.
Right.
And so she's trying to, like, it's sort of like her inner voice trying to save her from killing herself. That was brilliant.
Yeah, it did sort of, like, I wish it would have stopped before, like, we knew if she had done it or not. But then it did sort of redeem itself with, I won't spoil it necessarily, but she does something that's just sort of like, okay, like, that's kind of cool.
And that's why I think she won Best Actress, that last little bit.
Sure, and I think when she's in sort of a real world, and especially the first sort of environment that she's in, that's like the whole wet thing, it's just her acting in that is just really well done.
Yeah.
Like that really is what kept me in. When she's sort of in the spandex running around and stuff, I was just sort of like, oh, okay. But she still pulls it off. But I just, I that's the editor in me. I was just like, I would take this out, and this out, and let's see how that plays. I mean, obviously I can't do that because I'm not the one editing it, but I'm just in my head, I'm just kind of like, this is what I would prefer, because I'm like a little twisted like that.
Yeah.
Like I like leaving things hanging out in the middle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did like it quite a bit. Man Trap was the other one that I thought was interesting on a technical level due to the fact that it was done in one shot.
Yeah.
Which is pretty ambitious, and it's a long. I mean, it may have been the full 5 minutes.
I think it's a full 5 minutes. Yeah. What I loved about that one was there's a moment. So it's basically just following this guy around his apartment. We don't know why, but he's sort of crazed.
Yeah.
Something bad has happened. Something is about to happen. So he's preparing for something. We don't know what, but he's kind of crazed. But the part I loved the most was they're doing this whole thing in one long shot. And he runs through his apartment and he runs out the front door, and it stops on a shot of like the front door. And I went back online and I counted. It holds that shot for 20 seconds.
Really?
That's unreal. It takes some serious guts to trust what you're doing enough to hold a shot like that for 20 seconds. Right. And that blew me away. I was like, wow. And it works.
Yeah, it does.
It works.
It does. And the music was really what sold the whole thing. Like you take the music out of it and it's dead. Like there's just no tension or anything. The sound mix and the music is really what sells this particular one. And then of course, I don't know how many times they shot it, but I had to have to imagine that you're just like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Like you just have to really trust your photographer to do it.
And I'm pretty sure they had live sound. There's no dialogue, but I heard all of the sounds of what was happening in the room.
Yeah.
So you can't have a guy off camera going, all right, and do this. It's not like a silent film where you can kind of, give action, direct things as it's happening. But yeah, I really liked that one a lot.
Another one that I really liked was Shackles.
Yeah, that one was impressive.
That one was just unreal. Mm-hmm. You just don't know, like you don't know what's real, you don't know what's fake. But essentially, I took it as sort of a soldier having sort of like post-traumatic syndrome.
That's exactly what I took it as.
Like it's like almost like a PSA for that. Like like kind of like we mentioned Requiem for a Dream. It's kind of like that. Like drugs will do this to you, and it's just sort of like war could do this to you.
Yeah.
And it's just like it just jumps around, and it's just. There's something about it. I can't put it into words. It just draws you in and it just holds you. And it's like, wow, this is something. Like, and for a college contest, I was just sort of like, this is going beyond what, I'm expecting to see on a screen.
If you told me I saw this student film about post-traumatic stress disorder from a soldier's perspective, I would be like, that movie's going to suck.
Yeah.
Because a student should not know anything about any of those things. They shouldn't be able to create a believable character that would be experiencing those things. Right. This guy did it.
They did, yeah.
This
and it looked gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. It looked amazing.
Yeah, the cinematography was just amazing in it, yeah.
Yeah. So that one was excellent.
You can't really say much about it because it's just like you can't describe what's
like
real and what's not real.
Consciousness, and it's got some quotes that I'm sure are very meaningful, but you watch it one time in 5 minutes and you don't really pick up on all that.
But it draws you in
immediately. But just visually, it's really great.
I think that's what I liked about it a lot, that nothing was over-explained. You really, they just put you in there and you're taking it as it comes, and they didn't have to explain anything to you,
Yeah. One of the films that I really liked was this one called Trials. And it also kind of plays out like a music video as well. And it's a 5-minute film, so we're going to spoil it. You can watch them all online, campusmoviefest.com. We'll say that again at the end. But it's about this girl, and she meets this guy at a store, and she's in love with him. She's hanging up his picture on the wall, and they're in love. And then she goes to talk to her friend, and her friend's like freaking out, like, what's wrong with you? And we sort of discover that she's actually dating a mannequin. The guy she met was a mannequin, and this is all in her head.
The way you describe it makes it seem really silly.
And it's
not.
It's not.
It's very serious.
Yes.
Because what it does is it utilizes that 5 minutes. So it's like you're with like a very like alive boyfriend.
Yes.
And then like the next minute you're with sort of like a boyfriend who's got like a slight weirdness to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next minute you're like, well, okay, something's weird here. Like he's like only like half working right in the head.
Yeah.
And then the next minute it's just sort of like, okay, something's going on. Everyone's like in on it, and then the very end of it, it's like, yeah, that's a mannequin.
Yeah,
and so it's like her implanting the seed that what I wrote about it was I can't even think of what I can't think. I wrote something about it, and I can't even read it, but I just knew it was significant. It's just sort of like mental illness. Like there's something going on in her head, and this is potentially like the rewinding of that sort of tape. Like you see, like, okay, this is like where we are now. Let's rewind back and see kind of how this got started. But then it plays that back sort of in reverse. I thought it was really well edited in that sense. That it just slowly reveals one thing after another.
And the final shot is this, the woman, she probably could have won Best Actress as well, because this final shot on her face, it's almost like Anthony Perkins at the end of Psycho, you know? It's like she's just got this creepy look on her face like, I'm so happy. I could kill you any moment. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I think I made a note to try to rewatch that one. I can't remember if there was any lines. I think it was all
silent.
Music.
Yeah. It was silent. Yeah.
Yeah, and it uses locations pretty well, too.
Yeah.
I thought all the different locations they used were really interesting. There was one random shot, though, when she gets out of bed, that's that weird, like, not jump cutting, whatever that animation style is, where it's like, okay, you do this, and you pause, and then you move it, and you pause.
Oh, yeah.
That really took me out of it, but it was so early that it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that Pilgrimage was also in the same listing as this didn't help, because I really liked both of them, but when it comes around to it, I'm siding with Pilgrimage just based off of the performance, whereas I think I liked Trials as a concept way more.
Right.
Yeah.
Both very good, though.
Yeah, both very good.
And a female sort of protagonist.
Yeah.
I don't know. With definitely with Trials, I'm not sure if you want to see her. Maybe she's like an anti-hero.
Yeah. So we're running close on time here. Let's go ahead and talk about the Best Picture winner, Under Euclid's Watch.
Yeah.
And I know you loved this one.
I really did. I thought it was the most. It just looked the most professional out of everything. It just sort of had a start to finish concept that they executed well. They used. What I really, really loved about this was that it used the Bloomington campus in a very interesting way, and all it was the cinematography. It's just like, okay. We've got the modern setting. You've got this older gentleman who's, like trying to figure out this equation, clearly suffering from just being alone. And then they sort of show you these flashbacks. But the way they shoot these flashbacks, and they shot them on campus, I mean, there's like the student building, the chemistry building. Like you just see all these different sets, and it's just so well executed and such a good use of location shooting that it just draws you in. It's just like, and then it uses it again sort of in modern settings. And I'm assuming they shot this all in the same sort of 5-minute sequence. So then you can't just like wait for like a bush to look different, 50 years later or whatever it is that they're accelerating ahead. But it works.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really well done.
The thing I loved most about this one was they really took the time to find a really great actor who was older.
Yeah.
They didn't just grab whatever random dude they could find that happened to have gray hair.
Right.
They found a really good actor. Yeah. He could have won Best Actor very easily.
I think so. I think out of most, or even the younger version of him, I thought was another great actor. And he has not that many lines, so most of it is just him conveying emotion, because it's like it's him, and I'm assuming they were married.
I'm not sure.
Like it's either his wife or it's his serious girlfriend.
The only thing, it took me 2 watches to figure out what the plot was.
Sure.
It left out because it's like he's with this woman, and it's really about the woman.
Right. It is.
And he has this speech, and he's going to take over the world, and then they left out the part where his wife dies.
Right.
Like that's left up to or girlfriend or whatever dies. That's left up to you to figure out. I didn't catch that the first time.
Okay.
So the first time I watched it, I was kind of like,
you did tell me afterwards that you were like, I don't know if I got it.
Yeah.
But you liked it, so I'm going to trust you. And it's like, and I was standing there, and I was like, I don't know what he missed.
Yeah.
I watched it again, and I talked to our friend Sahar, who also said the same thing, that she wasn't sure what she missed part of the plot.
Yeah.
So that might be something if they're going to send this. I think everything is owned by Campus Movie Fest at this point, so probably they're not going to send it.
Well, I got it. I mean, just
but...
based on the fact that he was having sort of that breakdown in the hallway.
Yeah.
I think sells the whole thing, and that's why I really liked both the actors, both the male actors with the same character, really pulled off. And then it has a thread with the watch that's past and present, and it's just like prop use. The music, it's just, I mean, everything about it was really solid.
I looked this up online, Jason. This was done by the same team that won Best Drama last year, and that was this film about the kid with the tape on his shoes. Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Which was an amazing movie and made me I wanted to hug all of them because it's like you can't feel these emotions as a college student. You can't do that.
Yeah. You're not,
life is tough enough. You cannot do that.
You're not allowed to feel these just yet.
But they really, that one was very emotional and very well done as well. Same exact team that did that one.
That only makes sense.
Yeah. So that one won Best Picture.
The first thing I wrote after I saw it was poetic.
Yeah.
It's just this really well done poetic journey.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised that it won.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, any final thoughts? Anything? I think we touched almost everything here. We missed a couple, but sorry.
I mean, they're all listed on the website.
Yeah. And in fact, the ones that didn't screen, are also listed on the website, so you can watch them and sort of Monday morning quarterback and be like, why didn't that one get in? And
that's kind of what I'm ready to do now. See all the other ones that didn't really make the cut.
Yeah. So Campus Movie Fest. Love Campus Movie Fest.
Yeah, it's always a solid event. It's always really nice to see that what is being taught, or at least brought to IU via students, is solid.
And that's the other thing. We hit on the telecom students and CMCL pretty hard. That's sort of our wheelhouse. If somebody's coming on the show, they're probably CMCL or telecom.
Right.
This introduces us to the entire campus worth of students who might not be in a telecom program or a CMCL program. Maybe they're in business and they just like to make movies on the side, but they're really talented. So that's what I love most about this.
Really, honestly, if Bloomington is going to move forward as a place to come make movies, they should just use these as their resume.
Yeah.
This is my portfolio of movies. Because there's obviously something happening here at IU in Bloomington to make this happen. It's a little bit of it is, of course, whatever the talents of the students coming to Bloomington, but they're obviously absorbing something from, like you said, whatever classes they're taking in order for it to get on.
And it's not just current students. I interviewed Hannah Fidel last week, who her film played at Sundance and South by Southwest, and it's a brilliant movie. And she was telling me about another IU alum that's sort of in the same class as her. Her film played at Sundance, and it's just like this. Yeah, something's in the water here.
Yeah.
Something's happening here. But all right. Well, I think we will get out of here. Sarah, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. We will get out of here. I'm Andy.
And I'm Jason.
This has been, and always will be, A Place for Film. A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.